Hey class, Professor Kev here again. So this week, still talking about ineffective communication. My story, my former boss, not a good communicator. Great person, didn't like making decisions. He was painful to interact with because me, I like making decisions and I make them quick. You tell me something like the answer's B. And I learned I couldn't do that. I remember one time he was in with the vice president of HR, had an issue. I happened to be walking by, like, come in for a minute. Like, what's up? And they tell me the story, and I'm like, this is what we do. And they both kind of looked at each other like, yeah, that is. But wasn't they weren't really happy with me because they were spending like a half hour thinking about this. And I heard the story, and within 2 minutes, I'm like, here's the solution. I learned I couldn't do that. So what I had to do was communicate in a way that he and the others felt comfortable with. Now, me, I'm a gut person. Tell me it. I'm going to tell you what I think the answer is, and we're going to move on. Unless it's a mission critical decision. If it's like it's not going to make a difference or I get it wrong, I can always reverse my decision. Who cares? Make the best decision I can as quickly as I can and move on. That makes people mad, class. People don't like that. They don't like when I think fast. So I learned to go, okay, so we've identified the problem. Let's identify potential solutions. Try to come up with a four. All right, so the A, B, C, D. Let's talk about each one of them individually and see if we can eliminate any of them. So I would have to go in this process, hoping that someone said, well, A won't work because of this. I'm like, yep, I agree. Can we all agree that we can eliminate A? Now, I knew the answer was B all along, but when I just go, the answer is B, let's move on, it makes everyone else mad. They're like, well, you got to give some thought to this. I did. This is my decision. And so I learned by doing this, it made everyone else happy with me because I didn't try to just jam decisions down their throat. Again, different personalities, different ways to communicate. He liked to overanalyze everything. I didn't want to waste a minute on the decision. I had to be respectful to him because he's my boss. So I learned, okay, this is how he communicates. This is how I need to communicate with him. That's the key, class. How does the other person communicate? And adjusting your style to help them. I've only saw one assignment. It's only Tuesday. And the person talked about oral communication, verbal communication. And I agree with you. Verbal is horrible. For me, I happen to wear hearing aids. Random thing about me. So verbal communication with me can be a little challenging depending how close you are to me. In my in-person classes, if you're 10 feet away in the back, I'm like, yeah, no idea what you're saying. Especially I know why the whisperers always sit in the back. Yeah, Kev, I think this. Like, dude, if you're gonna sit in the back, you have to have bass. You can't be the whisperer in the back. And it's always people sitting in the back that talk real soft. I'm like, either talk loud or come up front because I need to be able to hear you. So it's adjusting your style. Something as simple as what we're gonna have for lunch. We'd have monthly managers meetings. So myself, the president, the other three vice presidents. What do you guys want for lunch? Now I was like, pizza. Well, let's talk about this. Why? It's a free lunch. Just eat it. But I learned not to say anything. And I'd wait for one of the other vice presidents to be like, I could go for a sandwich. You know what? Me too. I would just jump on whatever they said. Even if I didn't want a sandwich, I had one for breakfast, whatever. Yeah, that sounds amazing. But he would like, well, okay, we're gonna get sandwiches. We have three sandwiches shop. I'm like, come on, seriously, just pick one, like if whatever your favorite is, it doesn't matter. But again, it's very important to be respectful to the other person and communicate in a way that's going to make them happy. They feel like you were listening to them, they feel included. So that's what I learned is to adjust my communication style and understand that I drive people crazy because I make really quick decisions, always have, always will. I'm like, this is what I think. And they're like, well, we haven't had time to think about it. You're already throwing out the answer. I think quick. I don't know what else to tell you and stuff. But again, that can make people crazy. So I learned, let's talk about this for a minute. Adjusting the communication style. Now I have friends that think like me. I'm like, all right, we got A, B, C, D. This is why A doesn't work. This is why C doesn't work. This is why D doesn't work. B is the answer. Let's go. And they smile and go, let's go. And otherwise, got to tone it down a little bit. So just wanted to jump in, talk a little bit about the importance of adjusting your communication style. Just one random thing. You want to make Kev crazy? Put me in a group chat. Oh, don't, please don't. Please don't. Especially if I don't have your number stored on my phone and all I see is numbers flashing on my phone and comments. I'm like, who's saying this? And like, why am I even included on this? Like this doesn't pertain to me. And that was one of the things I had to learn in going back to my previous job was sometimes to just be quiet. Doesn't impact me and my role, doesn't impact my department. Maybe it's not my case, my place to make a decision. But you know what? Sometimes the boss wanted me to, especially if it was something negative. He wanted me to be the bad person, say, no, we can't do that because of this reason. He didn't want to, so we'd be talking about it and I just be quiet. I'm like, he's president, do what he wants. And I see him just looking at me like, well, and I'm like, oh, okay, he wants me to be the bad person. Well, this is why, from a financial standpoint, this would be a challenge so that he didn't have to be the bad person. So sometimes you got to know your role too. And sometimes that was my role, was to be the bad person. So just want to jump in, talk a little bit about ineffective communication. Curious, have you ever worked with someone who can't make a decision? It can be frustrating, but you got to learn to adjust and do the best you can. And sometimes just to give them space. I can tell you want some time to think about this. I'm not going to try to jam the answer down your throat. This is what I think we can do. But I'll give you some time to think about it. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe I'm totally missing the answer on this one. That way it's respectful. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope you're having a truly dazzling day.